Welcome to another SVG Sports Content Management Tech Portal. We're going to be focusing on Cloudian here, and I have the privilege of being joined by David Phillips, Principal Architect of M&E Solutions at Cloudian. David, first and foremost, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
So Cloudian, we know when you think of Cloudian, you think of object storage, right? You guys have an S3 compatible product line, principally Hyperstore. I think that's what most people in the M&E space know you guys for. And when I first came across Cloudian, it was sort of the mindset of, at that point, object storage was very much sort of too complex for M&E, too big for M&E. And the idea that you guys kind of brought to the market was, hey, this works for M&E workflows, right?
Yeah, I mean, having something that's kind of easy to deploy and easy to scale, and is not, coming from this real, big iron enterprise storage, background. But hey, like you can start small, 100 terabytes, but then it has the, the scale to be able to support hundreds of petabytes,
Right.
all in a kind of like easy to use, user-friendly interface for, administering and monitoring. So, that's, and at the end of the day, we're kind of, customers are coming from typically tape-based archives, and it not only has to be like easy to use and not kind of daunting from a technical complexity standpoint, but it's also got to be cost competitive with, what they're coming from, which is a data tape based archives.
Sure. Yeah, no question. So as people move to these workflows and they move to hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, splitting between on-prem and off-prem, security becomes a major concern, just a hugely chief matter. So I've spoken with several people from your guys' company over the last few months to how you guys have gone and built some of the security out in the Hyperstore platform. Tell me a little bit about how you guys are making sure that your customers keep their content secure.
Yeah, we've really spent a lot of time over the last year, really focusing on security, and a lot of that has been driven by our engagements with, state, local, and really the federal government, which has all these stringent standards for security, for any vendors, selling into government agencies.
Sure.
And so we just recently, received our FIPS 140-2 level 1, certification, which really just means that there's a National Institute of Standards and Technologies that has this, they do a rigorous testing of the software code base, for all of the cryptographic modules and encryption and everything like that, to make sure that it's really like secure and hardened, against, hacking and ransomware attacks and things like that. So, that's, we've put a lot of development effort on that, and really M&E, kind of gets, the benefit of that, in that everybody's concerned about security, especially in these days of increased ransomware attacks.
Yeah, I would think if it's good enough for a federal government contract, then it's good enough for an M&E organization, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's M&E has, their own kind of concerns. But like you say, now with, this move to public cloud, workflows and hybrid cloud workflows, there's just a lot more, media that's going out across these unmanaged networks, across the internet. So there's benefits to that. You can remote teams can be anywhere in the world and kind of access their central data repository. But, there's also the vulnerabilities that come with that as well.
Yeah, of course. Right. So in addition to security, as media and entertainment organizations, storage infrastructure has become more complex, monitoring is also something that has really become a challenge for a lot of people. You're monitoring various libraries across various different platforms, some on-prem, some off-prem. And I know you guys have been working to simplify and make it a little bit more of a seamless experience. Tell us a little bit about the monitoring applications you guys are developing to help the customers.
Yeah, we have just launched a brand new product in our portfolio called Hyper IQ. It's just a lightweight, can be run as a VM in your environment, and it just monitors all of the services and activities across all of the nodes in the cluster and all of the network traffic. And for the first time, we're able to provide customers a single pane of glass where they can see all of the status alerts and all of the real-time data stats and metrics across the storage cluster. So again, back to that kind of like ease of use and ease of monitoring and observability, having this kind of like one dashboard where the media asset managers, primarily the storage admins, but even the media asset managers can see, okay, yeah, data's flowing through the system, or hey, we've got like a failed hard drive, we need to contact support and get that replaced.
Right. And that's the key. That phrase, single pane of glass. You look, you get to see your entire system in one view, right?
Right. Yeah. And we've gotten really a lot of great feedback on it because it really is a really nice, kind of slick looking dashboard that, provides, for the first time, we've had kind of like statistics and logging and all that kind of stuff, but really kind of collecting it all into one place.
Excellent. Very cool. Look, in the sports world, anywhere in the media world, we've seen over the last few months during the pandemic, everyone is moving to remote workflows, right? A lot of people working from home, a lot of people doing multi-site in order to make sure there's not too many people in a studio or a broadcast facility. I'm curious how you guys are working with your partners in the vendor community to enable some of these workflows, because that's really what the SVG audience is trying to figure out how to do right now.
Yeah, and everybody is kind of scrambling to figure out this problem, at the same time. So you've got all these different solutions, ways to approach the problem. I think what people are kind of realizing is that, number one, the traditional kind of SAN and NAS based workflows, based on this kind of I've got this central data center and everybody's in that facility connected on the local network. Really doesn't stretch,
Right.
Once work at home teams, much less, remote productions, So even if you're able to kind of do like file transfer acceleration workflows, like sending, packages all over, what people are really, used to when they were back in the office working is, I've got my entire deep archive media library, all of my, kind of legacy, like archive footage, but also like our stock, music library, our stock,
Sure.
graphics and photos and all of that kind of that collected media that could span decades. When you talk about, these sports teams that, really have been around for 100 years and they have all these different media types that they draw on. It's not just like, okay, let's upload this to, Dropbox or the public cloud or something like that.
Right.
Like that's a huge process in of itself. So having something that's accessible anywhere, and that's really where object storage shines, because it's inherently designed to be accessed over the wide area network. So we've been working with our, our MAM and PAM, vendors, as well as our kind of HSM, vendor partners to really make these workflows, proxy editing. How do I get, how do we have shared collaboration, with teams? How can we have teams collaborate on a shared group of assets? Working with our vendor partners to really kind of enable those workflows. So, vendors like, we did a webinar yesterday with CatDV, who has
Sure.
really put a lot of work into their kind of remote proxy editing, where it just becomes seamless, wherever you are, that just, I can see all of my media, everybody else, who I'm working with can see the same set of media, and we can just, work as if we were sitting next to each other back in the office.
Yeah. I mean, those are the kind of workflows that are necessary right now. I'm curious what you think, just an opinion. Do you think object storage has really kind of come of age in the M&E market? Just a few years ago, again, it seemed very complex, maybe a tool that didn't necessarily, a round peg for square box. There we go.
Yeah, right.
But now it seems like they're really embracing it for some of the workflows, kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like the content creation teams and the media teams, they don't really care what's the back end storage, back in the server room and the data center and everything like that. They just need, they need access to their assets, and they need to be able to, to work and move things around and see, find what they're looking for, and then get get their outputs out to, their distribution channels. And they don't really care, what's making that possible. But as you say, it's like object storage is really kind of rising to the occasion of, typically, like several years ago, most of our conversations were around tape replacement,
Right.
for archives, right? So, we need an online repository that, is more accessible and lower maintenance than our tape archives. We don't want to have to keep migrating tape formats. And it's kind of moved from that kind of like cold storage to like really like a first-class storage platform, right? So it's accessible anywhere. Scaled up, larger cluster sizes. You can have petabytes of assets, petabyte level media libraries, that when you scale up with that many nodes in a cluster provides tremendous performance as well. So, you actually can have lots of services transcoding. You can have lots of proxy viewers, doing proxy logging, and, proxy editing. And then, the MAM platforms that are essentially serving out all of these proxies from object storage rather than a traditional SAN or NAS. And I think also, you've also seen it's like, instead of a traditional workflow of, hey, we send a remote team out to gather footage, and when we come back, we copy it to the SAN, then we back up and archive that to tape. Object storage is it's kind of flipping that around on its head in a way where it's like, okay, we're out in the field, we can immediately upload it to our object storage private cloud so that it's immediately protected, this valuable content. So yeah, it's people are kind of realizing that they want access to everything wherever they are, and they want, not just, the kind of smaller project sized,
Right.
collections, but it's like, I want to see everything,
I want that full deep archive.
Yeah, exactly. From everything we've ever shot, so it's starting to really kind of move up the stack in a way, as, to be like a first-class storage repository.
Cool. Well, thanks, David. It's an exciting time for cloud storage, for the archive and storage market in general. It's evolving at a pretty rapid pace. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join us, giving us a little idea about the latest news and products from Cloudian. And David, our best to the entire Cloudian team. Stay safe, stay healthy, all right?
Thanks. You too. It's great to talk with you.